is Alex from Tom's Hardware. I'm here at the LG V10 launch looking at the latest LG smartphone. The V10 is the first in this new series of V phones, which are a little bit more high-end, a little bit more premium than the G series. This is the 5.7-inch screen. It's still an IPS quantum display, though it is still noticeably bigger. So this is a G4 here. As you can see side by side, the V10 is a bigger phone with a 5.7-inch display. One of the big features of the V10 is it's a more premium device made from more premium materials. So on the sides here we have stainless steel sides. Stainless steel is the material used on a lot of high-end watches, even the high-end Apple Watch, and it's a more durable metal material than the aluminum found on a lot of other smartphones. So for example, if I bring in this Note 5 here, you can see that the sides of the Note 5 are made from aluminum. Even though aluminum is a durable material, it's still something that can be dented or damaged if dropped. The durable sides of the V10, along with this scratch-resistant soft touch back cover, and if you also notice, the top of the phone and the bottom of the phone is also made from a sort of soft touch plastic, and the stainless steel actually curves around the corners of the phone. LG has tested it by dropping it up to 48 times, and it actually passes a military standard level of durability, which is an 810G drop test. So this is one of the most durable smartphones currently available, and certainly a phone that you could actually perhaps decide to use without a case. So the finish is very nice, the metal looks really nice, and it also comes in different colors. So this is the black model. It also comes in white and a light blue, and it's coming to the US, coming to Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. No word on Sprint, no word on the launch date, and no word on pricing. But you will be able to buy this in the US very soon. It's actually launching in Korea next week. The white one also has the color of the day, rose gold on the stainless steel sides here, and around the camera surround as well, it's rose gold. So rose gold seems to be the new in color for a lot of phones, and if you're into that, LG can help you out. So going back to the specs of the phone, you'll find that internally this is not that much different than the LG G4. It uses a Snapdragon 808 processor. It actually has 4 gigs of internal memory instead of 3 gigs now. It still has a removable battery, so if I just pop off the back here quickly, as you can see, the back of the phone comes off, and we have a 3000 milliamp removable battery, and we still have the micro SD slot. So LG is still one of the last remaining phone OEMs offering micro SD and removable battery on its premium devices. So that's a nice feature to have. Looking closely here as well, you can see that it has the characteristic LG rear buttons underneath the camera. But this time round, the power button in the middle is actually a fingerprint sensor, very similar to the rear-mounted fingerprint sensor of the LG-made 5X that was recently, Nexus 5X that was recently announced. That fingerprint sensor can be used with Android Pay in the US. So it has a removable back. The back out of the box does not support wireless charging. Obviously it does have NFC, but LG did tell me that they will be selling separate back covers that will add either a PMA or key wireless charging depending on what standard you want to use. And of course there will be other additional cases that can also offer that feature. So wireless charging not included out of the box, but you can get it. Looking around at the bottom here, you see there still has a USB 2 port, so we're not looking at USB 3. The speaker is now a downward facing speaker rather than a rear mounted speaker, though it's still a mono speaker, not stereo speaker. They did actually improve the audio components of the V10. So the V10 actually has a 32-bit DAC, so you should see some excellent audio quality when listening to music through some high-quality headphones or hooking the phone up to high-quality speakers. So 5-inch display, HD quantum display, IPS display, so the same as the G4. But the big new feature on the display side with the V10 is the secondary display. So as you can see right above the primary 5.7-inch display, there's a secondary screen that can be used to have shortcuts. So as you can see here, I can scroll through some application shortcuts. I can control my music. It's very similar to what Samsung does with their Edge phones, where you can swipe from the edge and you can see contacts and shortcuts on the side of the phone. But on LG, this is a permanent feature. And of course, this secondary screen can be customized. It can be turned off, so you don't have to use it, but it's a nice little feature to have. The great thing about it too is that this secondary screen is actually usable when the main screen is turned off. So by default, the secondary screen shows the time, battery, and weather. And this is an always-on screen that doesn't take that much battery life. And again, you can turn this off if you don't want this feature, or if you think it is going to negatively impact your battery. But you can also add shortcuts to the screen, the second screen, when the phone is off as well. So as you can see here, you can control the volume. You can take a note quickly from the secondary by clicking the button on the secondary display. So it quickly opens up a quick memo. So you can even actually turn the flashlight on from the secondary display here, as you can see. So there's a nice little shortcut for a commonly used feature on people's smartphones. So that's the second sort of big feature after the improved materials is the secondary display. So the next big feature of the V10 is it actually has two front-facing cameras. They're 5-megapixel cameras, but they have different lens angles. So for example, you can actually set the front-facing camera to shoot with one camera at 120 degrees, or you can shoot at 80 degrees with the other camera. So for example, if you're shooting a regular selfie, you can pick one camera, and if you're shooting what's called a group selfie, where you need a wider angle lens, you can select the other camera. Another feature of the front-facing camera, along with having the two cameras with different angles, is what they call multi-view, and when you select that, it actually uses the front camera, the two front cameras and the rear camera to shoot 3 viewpoints in one image. And you can actually click here to change the layout of the different camera viewpoints. As you can see on the top of the phone, on the secondary display, you can actually see that you can control the modes from that secondary display as well. So it's nice that while you're using the camera, it moves some of that control onto that secondary display. So that's the improvement in the front-facing camera. So the last big feature of the V10 is on the rear-facing camera. Now, I mentioned before that it is very similar to the G4 in that it uses the same 16-megapixel sensor. It still has the same laser autofocus. It still has the same sensor for white balance. So the hardware of the camera hasn't changed, and it still has the optical image stabilization 2.0. But what LG has done is it extended its excellent manual mode. So if I go here, we're in manual mode now. Now on the G4, the manual mode allowed you, actually, just let me flip it over so you can see the manual mode properly. As you can see on top of the screen, there's the white balance, exposure, ISO, shutter speed. So in manual mode on the G4, you can control all those features in still camera mode. However, one of the big features missing from the G4 was that when you were in video mode, you did not have any manual control over the camera. So what the V10 has added is full manual control in video. And in actual fact, it adds even more features. So for example, in manual mode in video on the V10, there is a new electronic image stabilization mode. It does reduce the image size by 20%, but it does substantially reduce motion when shooting video. So that's one new feature. You can really control not just the resolution of the video, but you can actually control the frames per second. So on the G4, there was very little options as far as being able to control how the camera shot video, and the V10 is completely opposite. So in both 4K and 1080p video, you can control the frames per second. There's 1, 2, 24, 30, and 60 frames a second in both 4K and 1080p video. Not only can you control the frames per second, but you can actually control the bit rate. So there's 3 levels of bit rate available to each video mode that records increasingly higher quality video depending on how high you set the bit rate. Of course, keep in mind that the higher you set the bit rate, the more storage space the phone is going to use, especially in 4K video. So for example, the highest bit rate in 4K video is 64 megabits a second, which will use a substantial amount of storage. And that's probably why it's very useful to have a micro SD card slot on the V10. So you can put, let's say for example, SanDisk has a 200 gigabyte SD card that you could put into the back of the V10, which will give you a lot of storage for 4K video. So as I said, not only can you control the bit rate, you can control the frames per second, but you can actually control the aspect. So the video mode on the V10 can shoot in both 16:9 and 21:9 aspect ratio, which is the more cinematic aspect ratio. So if you were to set the phone to high bit rate, 4K, 24 frames a second, 21:9 aspect ratio video, you would actually have a very cinematic looking effect. So it does capture great video, but another aspect of shooting video is audio, which is something that LG has also not neglected. So as you can see here, you can see the audio levels which show up on the screen as you're recording. And you can actually monitor the audio through a Bluetooth headset or a headset hooked up to the phone, something that is not even available on many dedicated video cameras. So along with being able to see the levels and monitor the audio, you can actually adjust the audio on the V10. So as you can see here, there's a wind noise filter. I can control the decibel level of the audio capture with the microphone, and there's actually 3 microphones that record audio when you're in video mode, and you can actually use this to control the directionality of the audio. So if you want to have the camera capture audio from behind the phone, so let's say you're narrating a video, you can set the capture to be more balanced towards that direction, and if you're shooting this something in front of the video, you can change this. And you can actually change this while you're shooting video. So as you're shooting video, you can be adjusting the audio levels, and you can be adjusting the audio directionality of the audio capture. And along with being able to adjust the audio, when you're shooting video, you can also use a full suite of manual controls. So you can adjust the white balance before you shoot and as you're shooting video. You can control the focus while you're shooting, so you can actually pull focus back and forth as you're shooting the video. You can adjust the shutter speed, and you can adjust the ISO. So as far as video goes, the V10 certainly has the most fully featured video mode of any smartphone I've ever seen. In fact, it actually is more fully featured than the video modes found on many high-end cameras. So LG has definitely done a really good job on this. Of course, I haven't had a chance to actually shoot any video of this or test the video out. So this is all just features on paper, and I'll definitely have to get my hands on the phone and actually shoot some real video to give you a final verdict about how good this video mode is. But my first impressions are very positive. So just to recap everything I've said, this is the latest phone from LG. It's called the V10. It's the new V series from LG. It's a metal framed 5.7-inch premium phone with an amazing video mode, a secondary camera, dual front-facing camera, Snapdragon 808 processor, 64 gigs of internal storage, 4 gigs of memory, a removable 3000 milliamp battery, a micro SD card slot, and I'm very impressed. I really like the G4, but I think that the V10 takes it to the next level, and I can't wait to be able to spend some more time with this phone. Once again, this is Alex from Tom's Hardware. Thanks for watching.